In this episode, we're going to start by talking about pulling with oar boats or catarafts. And at the end, we're going to have some videos that show real life examples of this in action. And I think that pulling is overlooked by a lot of people and not done enough by a lot of boaters. And they could be better boaters if they did it more, added it to their repertoire. Now in rowing, there's three main things that we're doing: pulling, pushing, and downstream ferrying. And this is just terminology and definitions. I want to go through these really quick. Pushing is when your boat is pointed downstream and you're pushing on the oars. You're going faster than the current. You've sped things up. Pulling, you're pointed the same way. You're pointed downstream, but you're pulling upstream. You're using stronger muscles, mainly your lats, and you're pulling and things slow down because you're going slower than the current. The downstream ferry is when you turn the boat, point the stern downstream, and you pull downstream, again going faster than the current. And I feel like pulling should be our default thing that we do. It should be our thing that we do when we're scared and nervous, again because it slows things down. But also, if you're pulling and you hit an obstacle, you generally hit it with your bow, and you hit it and you can generally bounce off. If I'm going to hit something, a rock, a tree, something I don't want to hit, I'd rather hit it with my bow than sideways. If I'm trying to push past it, pushing past it, you're pretty exposed to that thing. You're more likely to hit sideways and wrap or flip or have something happen. So I think pulling is a great defensive technique. And you also, when you're pulling, you're ferrying. There's some sort of ferrying action. But an important part of pulling is that you want to be at least 45 degrees to the current. If you're pulling like this, you're just slowing down. You're not really doing much. You're not moving against the shore or against the current. You need to be at least 45 degrees to be pulling to the bank, but also to be ferrying at the same time. You're pulling the boat over and there's some ferrying that's happening. Anywhere from 45 to 90 degrees, I'm going to call pulling. And 90 degrees is great. You're just pulling across the current. You're pulling the boat away from something. The big downside is you have a downstream oar that you could get caught and hit something and hit your head. So you want to be careful being 90 degrees, but you can be 90 degrees. So for me, pulling is 45 to 90. Above 90 is a downstream ferry. Less than 45 is just being annoying. It's being annoying because you're just slowing down and you're messing everybody up. This matters a lot when you're in a group. If there's a couple of you and you're coming down like this and you're pulling a bunch, this person has to adapt to what you're doing. And they're just pulling too, and it's pointless pulling. Whereas if you're 45 degrees and you're making a maneuver, they can do the same thing and it's not that annoying. Now, there's a lot of people who will follow you and get annoyed with you because you're pulling all the time. They're allowed to be annoyed with you if it's 0 to 45. They're allowed. You need to apologize and say, hey, I suck. I'm slowing you down. I am annoying. And they have every right to be like, yes, you are annoying. But if you're 45 to 90, you're boating. You're making maneuvers and they cannot be annoyed. If they're so cool and they're like, I push everything, they have two options. One, they just need to get more space to allow you to pull. Or two, they, as awesome boaters, they need to match what you're doing. They may want to push, but they are going to pull. But I want to be very clear. Again, if you're 0 to 45 and you're pulling, you are being annoying and you are being a problem. If you're 45 to 90, you have every right to pull based on what you're doing, like how you boat, your style, what you want to do in that rapid, and the people behind you can just deal. And if they're giving you a hard time, just be like, Chad, chill out. You can have your IPA a little bit later in camp. We will get there. So that's my thought on pulling. I want to share some videos here that kind of demonstrate that. And yeah, enjoy. This first example is a pretty heavy gear boat on the Tuolumne. And this is rapid stern. You really just can't push this rapid. You have to pull. You have to slow things down. And this is called an airplane turn. You saw I got up next to that rock and spun around it. My goal was to spin and then push out of it, but I didn't make it. I turned into the rock, hit it with my bow. I didn't want to hit the rock sideways, so I hit it with my bow. Here we are on the wind, where I both push and pull quite a bit. I know the run really well, so I can push a lot. The person in front of me, this is their first time, so he's going to pull a lot just because he's learning, he's being defensive. And I feel like my goal is, of course, boating well, but also to maintain the spacing. And so I'm going to speed up or slow down to maintain the spacing. So I take a little bit of a faster line just because I ended up in a different spot after that rapid, after that spot. And I need to get from the left side to the right side. This really isn't a pushing move. This is a pull. I'm going to ferry across. You see, I'm going to turn. I'm going to get at least 45 degrees of the current.
I don't have to pull that hard. I'm ferrying. This is a ferry action. The water is doing a lot of the work, and I kind of ferry over the eddy. It wasn't a big deal. This is a pull again. I'm doing that airplane move like I did in the last one at stern. It's really similar. You kind of slow down and spin. I didn't do it perfectly, but my goal there was to do an airplane move. And now again, I'm trying to match speed. And so I need to catch up with him here, but I'm pulling because it's the best thing for me at this moment. I wish I was closer, but I'm going to pull. This is a little bit of a downstream ferry almost. It was at least 90 degrees. I pull to get the line that I want. And now the boater ahead of me is way down there, so I'm going to try to catch up. This next video is on the new Velvet Falls on the middle fork of the salmon. This is a newly formed rapid. You'll see some dangerous wood in the lower right-hand corner he has to avoid. And right now he's pointed to push past it and quickly realizes that's not going to work, goes to his default position, which is pulling, and is right now 45 degrees, maybe more to the current, and pulls across and gets away from him. This is just really solid boating. I love this video. This is an R2 doing the same thing, same group, and an R2 will push past. If you're kayaking, inflatable kayaking, or rafting like this with paddles, you are stronger going forward. So in this case, it makes sense to not do a pull stroke or like pull off of it. I'm going to show the video one more time. It's just really good video. I'm so grateful to have this shared with me. And it really shows the value of pulling. I think that it's a great technique for when something unexpected happens. Like this was expected, but when you're worried about something, when there's a danger, it's good to slow things down and pull across things.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe. If you have any thoughts, good or bad, if you think I'm an idiot, put it in the comments. If you think this is brilliant, put it in the comments. Make me feel good about myself. If you have things to add about this, like, hey, Zach, you forgot this, or I think this, or you think I'm totally wrong, put it in the comments. In a lot of these videos, a lot of the gold nuggets are in those comments because a lot of you have taken the time to add comments. And so I suggest going down there and seeing what's down there. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.